Welcome to episode 63 of the Whatnauts review show, where each week we pick a story and we talk about it. This could be a movie, a TV show, an anime, manga, comic book, an audio drama, all kinds of entertainment. We watch it, read it, listen to it, and then we come back here and we talk about it. My name is Melissa Wilkinson, and I am joined, as always, by my co-captain, Kyle Springer.
Hello, that is me.
That's you. Kyle, how are you doing today?
I am doing all right. It's an
You-
hour earlier for us, so I'm not
Yes.
super excited about that. But
But
I
you
finished a
do have
good book yesterday, so.
I was going to talk about the book you were helping to release today. That's the big news.
Oh yeah, so
We're recording an hour early because you have to go to a book release event.
Yeah, I'm not technically helping, really. I'm just showing up in support. My roommate has made a couple of these 101 Pitbull books, and
Aw.
they're to help Pitbull rescue and adoption stuff, and just be like, hey, they're not so bad.
Aw.
But yeah, so her second volume is releasing today. They're having like a release party thing. So I'll have more information on that on our next episode of the Captain's Log. I'm sure
Nice.
I'll have the website where people can buy it and stuff like that. So yeah,
Good.
that's what I'm up to today. And Toy Story 4.
Yes, yeah, I'm going to that tomorrow. Tonight I'm going to a circus. I just
Which we
bought my
talked about
tickets.
that on
Yes.
the previous episode of the Captain's Log. So you guys can go find that at the whatnauts.com. By time this goes live, it will already be up. So
Yes, you
there
can go find me reporting back on the full adventure of this paranormal themed cabaret circus in a tent in a mall parking lot that I am going to tonight. And I'm very excited.
Exactly. What are we here to talk about this week, Melissa?
It's not a circus and it doesn't have any dogs in it. It's very different. We're talking about the animated sci-fi film from the year 2000, the most sci-fi of years. This is Titan AE.
from
this was-
Y2K,
Yes.
as the kids say.
Now, was Y2K the term for the entire year 2000 or just the New Year's Eve switchover?
I mean, I feel like it can go for both. Because Y2K,
I believe that is technically true.
yeah, because Y2K is literally like year 2000,
Mm-hmm.
so that gestures to the whole year. That
guess
implies the
so.
whole year.
I've never heard anybody refer to like, yeah, I remember when I was in fourth grade, that going into it that September back in Y2K. Like, it's so event specific. We're not here to talk about technological possible disasters that were all averted. And we all still live here today with all our electronics working.
Or was it averted? Are we all dead?
This is our Jacob's Ladder scenario.
We don't know.
Oh no.
We may never
Podcasting
know.
Forever in the void.
Are we all just a simulation?
They just beamed the movie Titan AE to our subconsciousnesses.
Oh God! It's like the YouTube or the not YouTube the U2 album on all of the
yes.
iPods.
Everybody gets one.
You all get Titan AE.
Welcome to death. Yeah.
Yeah, so Titan AE. This was one that you pitched last week. What inspired you to pitch this one?
I just felt like a sci-fi spaceship kind of movie this week. And this is one that has been sitting on my DVD shelf for years. I saw it when I was a kid. I liked it when I was a kid, but I hadn't watched it again in a long time.
Mhm.
And it was due for a rewatch. I wanted to make sure it was just as cool as I remember it being.
Well, I had never seen it.
Yeah, what is it like to watch this movie now for the first time 20 years later?
So I feel like I was confusing, or that I often confuse this film with another film, and I don't know what it was.
Treasure Planet?
No, it's not that. Because
Atlantis?
I do know that one. I do know Atlantis as well. It's neither of those.
Is it another animated movie?
I think so. Is it simply
Ugh.
called After Earth?
Oh no, After Earth is that movie with Will and Jaden Smith from like 2010 or something like that.
No, that's not what I'm thinking of. Then yeah, no, that's definitely not what I'm thinking of. I just googled it. Uh, huh. And it's an M Night. Oh, by M Night
Mm.
Shyamalan and Gary Whitta. I know Gary
Mhm.
Whitta. He's pretty cool. He wrote Rogue One.
Oh,
Um, I don't remember what it. I felt like there was some other animated sci-fi movie that came out around this time, and I always confuse the two, but I could be
Final
wrong.
Fantasy: The Spirits Within.
God, no. Um, so I this one was it was the first time watching
Mhm.
this. I didn't really know what it was, but based on what you pitched, I think I picked this because it reminded me of Battlestar Galactica, which I
Yes.
really like.
Mhm.
Uh, so that was neat just to be like, oh, let's watch something else like Battlestar Galactica. Um, yeah, I thought it was okay. I thought it was just kind of middling, if that makes sense. I can see
I
why
understand.
if I was younger, I think it would be a fun
Mhm.
movie. But I know this was also a critical flop for the
Yeah,
studio. This was, and
it was kind
I
of a
can see why.
fiasco. I think it definitely has a lot of really cool, memorable things in it. The world it's in feels pretty lush.
Hmm.
Like, I think it feels like this is all the setting of like a tabletop role playing game or something like that. Like, this world feels real. But watching the movie, I could feel a lot of times when I was not paying attention. Like, I could feel myself
Checking your
completely
phone or
glazing
yeah.
over. Yeah.
Yeah, so it to me it feels like a lot of really cool things
Hmm.
all like mashed together in this one movie,
Yeah.
but in a way where it's like, okay, I can recognize all of these cool things,
Hmm.
but they don't ever really put their twist on it, like or their
Yes.
own like thumbprint. Like here's our take
Yeah.
on that.
It's missing some weight to it.
Yeah, yeah. But I still had fun. I mean,
Yeah.
it's a short film. There's not
Hmm.
much to it.
And it's a neat
I
look back at I was gonna say a neat look back at like the beginnings of merging 2D and 3D animation together.
mhm.
Like sometimes it looks a little stilted, but on the whole, it's still like really interesting just to go back and watch that period in history and what was happening then, when now we can do just about anything very seamlessly.
Did
It's
gruesome.
go back and watch some seams. Remember that they're there. They were there once.
Yeah. So when did that come out? Yeah. So I remember this from a long time ago when I was watching a
Mm-hmm.
bunch of when I was like first being like, I'm gonna discover what other animes are out there.
Yeah.
Blue Sub 6, if I'm
Yes.
not mistaken, is the first animated anything to mix the 2D and computer generated stuff.
This does sound familiar to me.
It's a 4 episode like direct to home video stuff based off an old manga. I should go back and read that manga. Um but yeah, I always like remember that as being like I saw some fun facts somewhere that yeah, like that was the first instance of it be like the ships and all of that stuff were computer animated and stuff, but then all the characters were 2D, and this has some of that
Yeah.
as well. Um, yeah, it looks neat. I do want to say I think the third act of this film is the most competent of like first act is okay, second act is okay, and then the third act is like, oh, there's actually some good action
Mm-hmm.
happening here. It like I think what they were trying to get to is like all actually happening like right there. And so by that third act, I was like, okay, this isn't that bad.
Yeah, it's pretty fun. And to give you a synopsis, this takes place in the far future where Earth was destroyed by these energy aliens named the Dredge. And there's a boy named Cale, who this is from before that vegetable
Such a hipster
existed.
name.
Yeah, he he's sent off Earth. Lots of people were sent off Earth before that pending explosion. And now he's like 19, 20 years old, living in this space colony as like a salvage worker, just picking up old pieces of Earth trash that were exploded into the galaxy. And
Mhm.
there's not a lot of humans left. They're just kind of living as refugees among all these space stations. And an old colleague of his father's shows up and says, your dad was working on something called the Titan Project. You have the key to take us there. Like, look, you know that ring your father gave you? It's actually a map. It projects a map into your hand, which is a neat effect.
Yeah.
Come with me on my spaceship. We're going to go find the Titan Project. Your dad said it could save humanity. Let's go find out what that means.
Yeah. I think it's an interesting. Excuse me. I think it's an interesting hook of just like, hey,
Yeah.
like you aren't necessarily humanity's last hope, but you have the key. You literally have it in the palm of your hand.
Yeah, it is like coded to your DNA because your father coded it to himself.
Yeah. And then there's a bunch of Star Wars like aliens
The
and
aliens are
stuff
cool.
like that. Yeah. I don't think I have really anything else to add to
Yeah, I think
synopsis
it's
stuff.
let's give out some housekeeping highlights and then we can go on into the full discussion.
Let's do it. Housekeeping stuff. We do have other podcasts that you guys can
We
go
do.
listen to. First up, I guess last week on this show, what did we cover last week? Why am I always
Quantum
go
and
blank
Woody.
out. Yes, Quantum and Woody, which is a comic by Valiant Comics. We read the first 2 volumes of that. It is kind of like their version of Power Man and Iron Fist. It's this buddy cop superhero adventure. They are estranged brothers, and they don't really like each other, and they become superheroes, and they are terrible superheroes.
Yep,
It makes for some misadventure and good old-fashioned fun. So we did that last week. We also have an exclusive patron-only episode of the Whatnauts review show up for patrons at our $3 tier. And that is on Mob Psycho 100 Season 2.
Yeah.
Back in episode 47 of this show, we covered Season 1. That is out publicly. You all can go watch that or listen. And I really liked that show, so I wanted to go check in on Season 2. So if you are a Patreon supporter at the $3 tier, that is where you can get all of our exclusive content. We have some more up there as well. Last week on the Captain's Log, I guess the one that you and I just recorded, Melissa, you mentioned this this circus thing that you're going to.
I teased the circus, and then next week I will be able to give a full recap of the burlesque circus.
And we talked about our favorite OTPs. I may have learned what that meant.
Yeah, we talked about ships, we talked about robots, we talked about all kinds of stuff.
Exactly. It was a good time. So go check that out as well. That was the latest episode of the Captain's Log. And we mentioned it, I believe, at the start here that we are gonna go see Toy Story this weekend as well. So we will be doing an episode of the Reactor Core on that. Pretty soon here. We're still working out final details on stuff like that, but be on the lookout for that. And then I guess I want to say that next week, be on the lookout for one for Spider-Man. I'm gonna be going to watch that too, so should be fun. Good stuff.
Yep.
Housekeeping is done.
Housekeeping complete.
Yeah, let's get on to spoilers. Woo. Okay, we are in spoiler territory. Melissa.
Yes.
Where do you want to start with this film?
I I want to ask you, what were the parts that you liked the most?
Parts
As
that
a
I liked
sci-fi
the
fan, as
most.
like kind of a cyberpunk fan. This isn't really cyberpunk, but it's got some sort of a punk aesthetic for sure. I'm not able to nail down exactly which one. There's punk in there somewhere.
It's like how would I what's all right, we need to come up with a new word for this genre that I am thinking of right now. It
Mhm.
is so the main let's start with the main character. This is who I'm
Yes.
basing this new genre
Okay.
off of. His design, his aesthetic, his
Yeah.
attitude. He is like the older brother of the Disney Channel home movies that you would see. He's like the badass older brother of like
Yeah.
Disney home, like Disney original movies. You
Oh, I
know?
get that. Yes, yes. Like he's got or like the friend on Boy Meets World,
Yeah,
like the cooler friend.
yeah, yeah. He has that. He has the
He
haircut
does
that.
almost have like the writer strong hair. Yeah.
Yeah, he has. What's his name? Bobby from Twin Peaks. What's his last name? Bobby Briggs
Mm.
from Twin Peaks.
That
He
hair every boy had in the 90s.
Yeah, he has
My
that.
older
It's
brother
that
had that
like
hair.
it's like parted down the center
Yes.
and it's like to the side, but then they like shave the side shorter. So
Yeah.
it's like
And
this
like the
weird
sides
almost
aren't bleached, so your hair is like two-tone.
yeah. It's so stereotypical of like that time period, and then he
Yeah.
has on those like muscle A shirts with the sleeves cut off,
Yeah.
and
He's
he has
got
a
a tattoo or
tattoo and
something
stuff, and he's
cool.
like, "Oh man, I'm so badass." It's you know, and he just has this like I don't care
Mhm.
attitude, but not really. Like he actually does care, but like only about the things that he really likes, if that
Yeah.
makes sense. So it's like what would you what type of punk would you describe that as? Like Disney punk?
No, I was thinking more in terms of the narrative aesthetic of it. Like, it's not cyberpunk. You think about
Nah.
Treasure Planet, which I keep comparing this to in my head. These are real contemporary movies to each other, in my view. Like,
Yeah, I think
Treasure Planet's a
Treasure
little
Planet
bit
came out
steampunk.
a year or two later.
Hmm.
Treasure Planet. When did that come out?
I think it was like
2002.
2002.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Um, I don't know what I would. I mean, it's very obviously sci-fi, but
Hmm.
I don't know if it has a specific subgenre of like.
Maybe there's not enough of it. Like, I don't know if I could point at this and say, yeah, it's salvage punk. I've got a friend who's a big sci-fi
You could
nerd.
almost say something like that.
Yeah, I can ask her, like, what would you categorize this as? You know all of these different denominations.
Yeah, I mean, very like I guess I'm thinking more in terms of like what type of punk is this? Is it cyberpunk? Is
Mm,
it steampunk?
yeah.
Is it something else? But yeah, like this is very much the like, hey, we've lost our planet, we're looking for a new one type
Hmm.
of sci-fi, which
Yeah.
is yeah,
It's
there is a lot of that out there, right?
hmm.
It does have the like market scenes where they go to this alien planet and there's a
Yeah.
bazaar of some kind and there's all these different alien species and stuff like
Yeah, and
that.
it's really in terms of outer space sci-fi, traveling around on spaceships kind of sci-fi. You've got dirty and you've got clean.
Yeah,
Star
this
Trek is
is
clean, Star Wars is dirty. This is
yeah,
really over there on that Star Wars side.
yeah. I would agree with you on that. Um, I wanted to talk really quickly about 20th Century Fox
Oh
Animation
yeah, I was
or
reading
Fox
about that.
Animation Studios because uh not only have I not seen this film before, but when you were like, "Oh, it's directed by Don Bluth and Gary Goldman. You know them. They did all. I was like,
Well, I don't know Gary Goldman, but I think we all know Don Bluth, even if we don't know that name.
I was like, I don't know him by name. I don't know. But then you named off some things I had seen. It's like, oh, okay, that makes sense. He did Thumbelina and stuff like that. Yeah, is that right?
Anastasia. Yeah, he did do Thumbelina, Anastasia, Rockadoodle.
Yeah. So when this movie popped up, it said, hey, this is Fox Animation Studios. And I was like, oh, that's weird. I've never heard of them. And
because they folded immediately after this movie.
Basically. I was looking at the Wikipedia page and I saw the link to Fox Animation Studios. So I looked at this and it was like, and Titan AE was their second and final film. I was like, oh, that's why I haven't heard of them.
Yeah, and it's not necessarily this film's fault. Like, it seems like it was in rough shape to begin with. Like, its funding and staffing was really inconsistent.
It did say that this lost 20th Century Fox $100 million. God. This movie in particular.
I feel bad about that because this movie, it's not a disaster. It's, it's your mind wanders off, but altogether you have a fun time. It's pretty cool. Like, I'd still recommend it for other people to check out if they haven't seen it before. It seems like it'd be a family crowd pleaser back in the year 2000. So I don't know why it didn't do so well. The Wilkinsons went to see it.
The Springers did not.
Well, there's 4 of us and 3 of you.
Yeah, so they did Adventures of the Book of Virtues, which is a TV series that was out on PBS
is it
from
like
1996.
Warriors of Virtue?
It's Adventures from the Book of Virtues is what it's called.
That's either Warriors of Virtue or some real biblical stuff.
I don't know. Then they did Anastasia. Then they helped on some of the additional final line animation for The Prince of Egypt, which is a DreamWorks.
Prince of Egypt is gorgeous.
That's a fantastic film. And then they did Bartok the Magnificent, or Barlok?
Bartok.
Can't see the small text on my computer screen. I'm getting old. And then Titan AE was their last one that they did. And I think there was something else they were getting ready to do after this. And it never happened. Shut down, blah, blah, blah. Blah, 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 blah. I don't remember where I read that, so I'm not going to look too hard. But yeah, I thought that was fascinating how studios can kind of come up and like Anastasia is a like really, really well-known animation.
It's very well regarded. Yeah. It's a Broadway musical now.
Yeah, like that's I would put that, if you're around our age, that's one of the like quintessential animated films that you need
I think
to watch. And then to see that studio fold so fast is just, whoa, that's strange.
It's disappointing, yeah.
I think even with the talent on this film, because of course Don Bluth has done a number of good films, but then the screenplay also has Joss Whedon. I'm not sure how much he was involved in this.
I did read a little bit about this. This script had been floating around for a while, and it was originally supposed to be a live action film. And he was one of the writers who did a pass on the script. So was Ben Edlund, creator of The Tick.
There you go, yeah.
So like they worked on the script, and then eventually it got to 20th Century Fox, and they decided to give it to their animation department because like they needed a script. Like they didn't have anything in the works.
Yeah.
So like, well, you could animate this, right?
And then on top of that, it has the voice acting talents of Matt Damon and Drew Barrymore.
The cast is actually really good, yeah.
Like and I'm sure there's more names in here that other people would recognize, but those
Ron
were the
Perlman.
two. Yeah. Yeah, that one as well. He's not even listed in the starring on like just the like. Hey, it has these guys here. But yeah, he's in this film. Like, if you had pitched this to me as a sci-fi film starring Matt Damon and Drew Barrymore about a planet is destroyed and they're on the hunt for a new one, and like
Yeah.
that sounds awesome.
Yes.
Like I don't. It's yeah. It's just crazy that happens so often. Or I guess I shouldn't say often because I actually don't know how often it is. But just
Mhm.
like that is possible. That
Mhm.
like a movie like that. I mean, I guess we did just watch Serenity, but like Matthew McConaughey, like how is the like that talent? How is it that bad?
Mhm.
How does it fold? How does a whole studio fold just because that's
And I
fascinating
think also it made
to
it
me?
like they were having money problems to begin with, so they couldn't pay to promote the thing very well.
Huh.
That's always a big deal. Maybe they spent money on toys and nobody bought the toys. Like there could be a lot of factors going into this thing. Maybe some families looked at it and said, "That looks scary."
I have no idea, but this is one that I feel like should have been a sure hit.
Yeah, I'm amazed it didn't do well at all.
Um,
That
so I wanted to talk about the kind of bad. Let's talk about the aliens, but I wouldn't talk about the
yeah,
bad ones specifically.
the
The
dredge,
dredge, yeah.
pure energy.
This was one of the things that I felt like I missed in the film. There was
Uh-huh.
a couple things because you mentioned like you could see yourself kind of tuning out here and
Yeah.
there. There were things that I didn't feel like I tuned out, but I feel like I
Mhm.
missed like 20 minutes of the film of just like, oh wait, how did we
Yeah.
get to this?
Yeah, the movie is like it's a nice 90 minutes, which is good for, a family animated feature, but it does feel a little bit too short.
A little bit. Mostly in I didn't really understand the motivation of the aliens.
Mhm.
It like they destroyed the planet, but they destroyed it because the Earthlings found a new energy source. Is that like it seemed like the dredge just kind of appeared and attacked. Um, but then it's not so much about like, hey, this energy source is a threat to us or stuff like that. They are like hunting down all the humans and stuff, or it seems that way. Like this
Mhm.
war has continued for like 20
Yeah.
something years, but the humans are all scattered, so they're like the humans aren't really fighting back per
No.
se.
And I wouldn't necessarily call it a war. The Dredge are more like these enemies that show up suddenly and just attack you. They're not adversaries, they're predators, basically.
But
Like
I
they're
got
just out there
the
hunting you down in space.
yeah, but it seemed like they were only hunting humans. Like none of the other
Hmm.
alien species seemed to really care, except for the ones that were like on the ship with them. Because
Well, when the Dredge attack that salvage ship that Cale is working on at the beginning of the movie, it is made clear that he is in the minority on that ship. He's probably
yeah,
one of only a very small handful of humans that work there, but still the Dredge went and attacked it. So I think they're just out there blowing stuff up. I am looking through the Wikipedia synopsis for this movie, which is fairly detailed, and I am not seeing any reasons why the Dredge do anything.
yeah, they're just this pure energy
Pure
of
energy.
yeah, and it seemed to me like they showed up to Earth when humans found this alternative energy source,
Mhm.
and it was like that was never explored of like, hey, is this energy source a threat to the dredge specifically? Is
Mhm.
this uh is there some ancient thing happening here? Like, oh, this is ancient technology. This is the resurrection of our god or whoever. Like, there's none of that. It's just, oh, we discovered this new thing, and they showed up and was like, that's bad. Destroy all humans. And yeah, it seemed like they were only focused on the humans, but the humans weren't really fighting back because they were all scattered and destroyed. And like, I was just like, huh, okay, well, it's a threat, so
Yeah.
just.
What's also weird about the Dredge is that we find out midway through the movie that they have hired Corso to bring Cale in like the Titan AE ring to them.
Mm-hmm.
And they don't seem up to that point in the movie like an intelligent, planning, conniving species.
They just seem like this warlike, savage, just, yeah.
And then the fact that like they also hired Preed, and Preed is like there to double cross Corso on top of that. Like, I don't know how much they were involved in that additional double cross, but I'm like, the Dredge don't seem that like they put that much thought into things. Because earlier it looked like they were just going around blowing stuff up.
Yeah, that's kind of what I got too. But yeah, I mean, and then in the end, they're more of an obstacle rather than the threat. Like the main bad guy is more of what was his name? You just
there's Corso's the human, and then Preed is the alien guy.
Captain Joseph Corso.
Mm-hmm. And the Dredge are also so like vague and faceless. Like none of them have a name. I couldn't probably tell one apart from another very well. Like their designs are so like complicated and flowy. Like there's not anything you can really focus on. They don't have a clearly defined face so much. Like they're just sort of ephemeral energy waves,
they're
and
meant
that's
to be
your
a
enemy.
Force rather than like, hey, you recognize this one character of the.
It's not like, oh, that's the king of the Dredge. Yeah, like they are all force beings.
Yeah. So that was a little bit confusing for me. I also wanted to mention that I don't think, besides the Dredge, I don't think I ever saw more than one of a different species of alien. Every single alien looked different in this film. Like
you've got a point, yeah.
There was the turtle-looking dude. There's the guy with like the spider legs. There's the bat-looking one. There was the chef who was more of an insect-looking thing, and then there was the one that just kind of laughed and spoke slowly. The big like slug. Look, I guess not a slug, but
yeah.
Like. Those were all the main ones you saw, but even in the background, I don't remember seeing, oh, there's another turtle guy, or oh, there's another, like,
and it might have been there and we just didn't notice, but yeah, they never call attention to other cultures so much. Or like other groupings, other communities.
Yeah.
Like, Cale is obviously in the ship. He is in the minority here, and there's other aliens around, and the aliens eat weird bug food, and he's like, I cannot get a single piece of normal human food here. Like, there's no point in making it for just me. What are these aliens you live amongst? Like, how is it a bunch of one kind of alien? Is it a lot of different aliens? Like, what's their culture like? Did they live somewhere that was attacked by the Dredge? Have they also lost their home planet, but more of them got out and live in the same place together now?
Yeah, I'd kind of like to see the backstory of some of the aliens on the ship, but it struck me as odd that I didn't see, like, 2 or 3 of the turtle people or stuff like that. Like, in Star Wars, you do see a bunch of different types of aliens.
You don't see one Ewok, there's an entire village, Yeah,
you see multiples. Or if you don't see multiples in that in a specific film, there will be in another film, right? Which I guess this only has this one film, but it like that struck me as odd. It's like it felt like there was almost too much
Yes.
Like, I would have preferred maybe one of the other characters to just be, oh, there's two of these bat-looking
Mhm.
characters on the ship and no turtle people. I felt like
Mhm.
that would have maybe made it easier for me to not keep track of, because they all do look really
Mhm.
distinct, but it just, yeah, like it felt it felt like one of those things of like, well, why do they all have to be different?
Yeah.
It's a weird question to ask.
Yeah, it's cool to look at all these different designs, but it is kind of narratively
It's
inefficient.
a little too much, yeah.
Yes.
So that was a weird thing for me. Did you have a favorite one?
Of the aliens,
Yes.
like in terms of like the actual character or just the way they looked?
Both?
Oh, I really do like the other aliens on their ship. I think that's one of the strong points of this film, and something I always wanted more of was
Mm-hmm.
just the cast of that spaceship.
Yeah.
I wanted more of all of them interacting with each other because there's like six of them. I don't know if you get all six in one scene together at any point.
Maybe
And if you do
when
it, and it might be on like an action scene where everybody's just like yelling commands or
I
something
think
like
there's
that.
five of them, at least four or five of them, when Cale breaks out of the ship and gets or the breaks out of the
Mhm.
dread ship and finally gets back to the Valkyrie, I think is what their
Yeah,
ship's
that's
name
the
was called.
spaceship's name.
Cause what's her name? The woman played by Drew Barrymore,
Akima.
Akima. Yeah, she comes running down the stairs, and they have that weird moment of
Yeah.
like, oh, they've actually come to like each other, even though they've never had a conversation together, at least on film. You know,
Oh,
it's,
she had to fix him after he got all injured. She's seen him naked, so I guess that's a bond.
yeah. I mean, like it's just one of those things of like, oh, okay, they're trying to do a romance thing here. I'm sure. Let's.
Okay. The romance, I will say this about it. It avoids feeling like kind of perfunctory, kind of like the story has to have a romance in it, so
Right.
here we go. Because both of them are so isolated. They are part of a dying species, more or less.
Yeah.
And who knows how many other humans they've seen, other humans their age, other humans they're attracted to. Like it's got the fact that they are really possibly the only other person in the universe for each other,
In the
and that
universe.
they've got like they're kind of made for each other like that.
Yeah.
Not in some super romantic way, just in like a practical way. Like, okay, if I ever wanted to settle down, it would have to be you. And also with we're bringing Earth back to life. We got to repopulate Earth. Like it's got this sense of
It
urgency and purpose to it. Does
yeah,
this make
like
sense?
it makes sense, and I agree with it 100%. But you also mentioned like it's not really a part of this movie. Like the movie avoided talking about all of
Yeah,
that
it is
stuff,
not. Yeah, it is not
and so,
romantic, and they don't really talk about. Okay, well, how many humans are left on Earth? Do we need to make more humans for Earth? Like that's just
yeah,
something
like
me as an adult can see.
that's not a talking point of the film, and so I like it was weird to me to see those like one or two moments where they
Mhm.
like they touch and they're happy to see each other, and then they not focus on it. It's like, well, why even show me that at all then, if it's like you could literally done that scene differently, like just like
Mhm.
where she's comes down halfway on the stairs or something like that, or stays up there in that little balcony thing, and I think the film would have been the exact same. Like
Yeah.
it's just it's like it's one of those things where it's like the hokey pokey, you put your right foot in, and it's just like, wait, what are you gonna dive in? No. Yes, no,
Oh,
oh
like they
well.
just keep like dipping their toe in and then taking it out, and it's
Yeah,
never like,
yeah,
okay, you put your right foot in, the right foot stays in, the right foot is committed.
yeah. and then the left foot. Okay, I see where this is going. No, it's just like there's this one moment, and
Yeah.
it's just like it wouldn't have been that bad if they continued down that thread. But yeah, it was just not talked about.
Yeah, they don't do much with it. That's what I wanted more of from
Mhm.
the entire film
Yeah,
was the character interactions, because what little bits we get are really great.
yeah,
And
yeah.
like I think that's where you can tell Joss Whedon worked on this script, and this would have been years before Firefly.
hmm
Like this is kind of the proto,
When
you
was
know,
he
miss
making Buffy? Was this around the same time?
Buffy was mid 90s sometime. I don't know much
Okay.
about Buffy. And then Firefly was 2002 to 2003, maybe, if it even went over the winter break.
Okay, so this must have been like right at the end of Buffy, right before he was working on Firefly then.
But then if the script was passed around before it got to the studio, like who knows how long ago he had worked on the script.
Yeah,
He also worked on
exactly.
Atlantis.
I didn't
Both
know that.
movies, yeah, both movies with great
I like that film.
ensemble casts.
hmm
And that's what I wanted more of. I wanted like everybody sitting down to like the dinner table, or like just those moments of, all right, we're traveling through space. We are going as fast as we can. We are also still just waiting.
Yeah,
We're just all sitting around in this cramped metal box waiting. What do we do?
definitely. I wanted to also talk about the animation itself.
Yeah.
This was an interesting one. We already kind of mentioned the CGI stuff that was mixed in there, but the thing that actually stuck out to me was the camera work
Yes.
done in this. The animation in this had a weird quality to it. I felt like
Hmm.
it was maybe too not too fluid, but it seemed slow in places that it shouldn't have been. But
Yes.
those moments where it was slower, it was it seemed more fluid, not something that you would see in a typical animation. It seemed like they had reference video of the actors actually doing that
Yeah,
stuff,
like it
and
might have
they're
been,
drawing on top of it.
yeah, it might have been rotoscoped or something. Not maybe not exactly rotoscoped, but something, yes, where you are using live action models. And I know that's something he did for Anastasia. That's why some of the animation in Anastasia kind of has that same odd quality to it, where it is both fluid and stilted and fast and slow.
Yeah, it has a very like I don't want to say displacing quality, but yeah, like it just
It's it's
seems odd.
it's something that sticks out to you.
Yeah,
If you have seen rotoscoping or something similar to it, I think the actual term rotoscoping might be quite archaic, and none of the movies we're talking about actually used that technology. But that very close life modeling, it sticks with you. It is kind of odd looking. It
like
sticks out,
I
but
don't think
always
I
in a
would
way that I
mind
kind
it.
of, yeah, it sticks out in a way I kind of like.
I don't think I would mind it if the entire film was
Hmm.
entirely that, but
Yeah.
it would happen in certain moments, like in certain action scenes, and the
Hmm.
camera would pan around things,
Yeah.
and like it it made it have this neat cinematic quality,
Hmm.
but at the like cost of, okay, that animation is a little bit different.
Yeah.
um and I noticed on some of the scenes when that was happening, one of the costs of that was it, like the animation itself seemed to slide around the frame.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
instead of having someone walk and they just take steps, it seems like they were sliding with each step.
Hmm.
If that makes sense, it's like, oh, that your foot is planted, it shouldn't be sliding. You know.
Hmm.
Um, and it was just very minor, but enough where I was just like, something's off here.
Yeah, I understand that.
So, but that being said, I think that style is neat.
It's
Um,
it's really a delight to look at. I love all the character designs.
yeah, yeah. I'm thinking back to when we watched Kids on the Slope.
Mhm.
There's an episode in that anime where they're having
Yes.
a concert,
Yes.
or like a talent show,
Mhm.
and stuff goes wrong, and so the two main characters kind of do this improvised set to kind of keep people like, hey,
Mhm.
don't panic, don't go anywhere. But it happens to be this really magical moment where people are like, you have to hear this thing. They go to other
Yeah.
classrooms and be like, guys, you need to come watch this. And they do a similar technique to that, I think. It's at least reminding me of that, where when you saw the kids like running down the hall to go get more people, it seemed like they were taking video reference there. It was a
Mhm.
much
Yes.
smoother animation style, and it worked fantastically for that scene. Which most of the rest of that show you don't get that.
Mhm.
But in that one instance, I think it worked really well. And
Yeah.
I think with this, it had it throughout the entire thing, but
Mhm.
not to a point where it's like, oh, the whole thing is in this, which I guess is
Yeah.
my like, I want it like all or nothing,
I understand that. Yes.
or just one moment, like one special scene.
Mhm.
Who knows? That's
Mhm.
just me.
What did you think about the settings of this movie? Because I think that is another strength it has. Like the alien landscapes they go to are really pretty. Like there's that planet with the big kind of gas balls that are bundled up. Like it's like a bunch of balloons or something.
Yes.
And that's like the trees of this landscape. There's the part with the wake angels, which are these sort of outer space like manta rays that just sort of fly around past spaceships. It's all
Mm-hmm.
gorgeous.
Yeah, it's some really imaginative stuff.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, I think my favorite was I guess they're what did they say were in those
Like
bubbles? Was it
hydrogen or something
yeah?
like that. It's
I
some
want to say it
gas where it's
was
like if you nick it, like
it'll
everything's
explode.
gonna light on fire. I
Um,
will say
I liked that one. I thought that one was fun.
this movie had like three sequences of we have to navigate this tricky terrain. We
Which
have to
is
overcome this
another
natural
sci-fi
obstacle.
like
Yeah, but there's like
spaceship
three of them, and I'd
trope.
rather there be like one big one, like one big making the Kessel Run sequence instead of a
Yeah,
lot of smaller ones.
yeah. I feel like maybe it could have been the one that is in that planet that we were just
Yeah.
talking about with the big old hydrogen tree bubble things,
Mhm.
and then at the end when they're on the ice planet and they are being pursued um by what was his name again? It was Corso. When they're
Yep.
being pursued by Corso. Um yeah, I feel like they could have handled that differently. Whether it was they landed on a certain ice formation and had a chase scene on the
Mhm.
ice instead, or something. Who knows?
I think I liked seeing the terrain, but the actual narrative of now we have to navigate and chase across this terrain is not as interesting to me beyond the visuals we get.
Hmm.
I would have liked to seen a little bit more of on planet stuff.
Yeah.
Like I think one of the best sequences in the film is when um they've got Akima like captured, like the dredge captured her and then tried to
Hmm.
sell her off as a slave or something. And then it's Corso and Preed and Stith. Stith is I loved her design. with her like 3 knees and those giant
Like
legs.
spider-looking legs, yeah.
Or like a kangaroo almost. She's like a
Yeah.
giant kangaroo. Like that's a design I've remembered really specifically since I was 10 years old. That's a good one. Where like she has to pretend like, yes, I am also here to buy another slave. Yes. And like they are trying to like convince these guards like, please let us in early to take a look at your finest stock before it goes out on the wider market. Because they're like, we have to get Akima back. And like they've got these disguises and like they've got, Corso's down, like, bent over in a robe, like he's pretending to be like a servant they already have. And the guard is like, if you say you're from this planet, that is not how people of that planet negotiate. You would have threatened me before you ever tried to strike a bargain with me. And your
Yeah.
costumes are wrong. And like he sees through everything and they have to just punch their way out. And they're like, the guard was that smart? We didn't plan for that.
Which is
That-
I think that is one of the best scenes
Yes.
in the film, just because that is the like sci-fi trope of, oh, we need to go to some black market thing and get past the guard or sneak past somehow, and it usually doesn't go as planned, but usually they can at least somehow sneak past or use a disguise, and this, it's just, nope, we're gonna flip that on its head. The guard is real smart.
Yeah, I liked that.
Yeah.
That was
a good scene.
I think my favorite character might be Preed because he's so slimy in a really fun way to watch, and he's voiced by Nathan Lane. And I've never heard Nathan Lane do a performance quite like this. Like the casting is really interesting. That he's going to play this like tall, sort of slimy, kind of suave, and he's got this sort of slow, toned down, kind of reined in, distinguished voice like this, but he's doing very slimy things. And
I don't recognize his name, so I looked him up.
Nathan Lane?
He's Timon from The Lion King.
Yes, Kyle.
And he's in Stuart Little as Snowbell.
You named Stuart Little before.
Well, it said,
I was going to name the Birdcage.
It says his voice work includes The Lion King as Timon and Stuart Little, and then it says as Snowbell, but I just read that first part and I was like, oh, he's Stuart Little. No. He has recurring roles on Modern Family,
Nice.
People versus O.J. Simpson.
Huh.
Yeah. Big step up from Timon and Snowbell.
Yeah, the cast is good. This is the second time recently. Earlier this year, we watched Green Lantern, the animated series, and I'm watching the episode with Sinestro, and I'm like, what a great voice performance. Who is this? It's Ron Perlman.
Oh, yeah. He's in
plays
this.
Cale's dad, who we see briefly at the beginning of the movie. He's, from a man with such a distinctive face, I think that overrides his voice sticking in my head, because every time I hear him, I forget it is him. I'm like, I can't tell who this is. Oh, wait, that's Ron Perlman.
He's Hellboy to me.
It's always a very pleasant surprise whenever I hear him in something, because I can never pinpoint that it is him. I'm just like, I like whoever this actor is.
That guy's got some acting chops. You should hire him.
That dad is also really handsome. I know in the cartoon pantheon of handsome dads that die too early in the movie, everybody talks about Tarzan's dad.
Sure.
We need to talk more about this handsome scientist dad from Titan AE.
Yeah, let me see if I can find a picture. What was his character's name?
I don't know, Dad. Mr. Turner.
Professor Sam Tucker.
That's it.
Let's
not
Google
Turner.
Professor Sam Tucker, Titan AE. See if we can get some images up. Here we go.
Handsome, right? He's got that little mustache.
Let's show the good people. Yeah, he looks like 1920s, 1930s
he looks
scientist, adventurer.
Like he came right out of The Rocketeer.
Yeah. There you go. Good old Sam Tucker.
Memorable character Sam Tucker.
Yeah. I had something else that I wanted to talk about, and now I don't remember
I
what
want
it
to
was.
ask you, you said the
Ask
initial premise reminded you a lot of Battlestar Galactica,
Yes. Oh,
which I
now I know
believe
what I wanted to talk
is
about.
the gold standard for humans out in space trying to find a place to live.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I imagine this does not come close to that, but how did you find this as a sci-fi story of a people in search of a home?
Uh, I don't know if it's a great example
Mm-hmm.
because it's not really a people in search of a home.
Yeah, it's
Like, you
like
really don't
three.
see many other
It's
humans
it's
until
three
that one
disparate
scene.
humans.
Yeah,
Yeah, and then they
until
go
that one
to.
scene where he like looks out and there's like a whole planet of them. It's like, whoa, where did they all come from? Wait, we
Yeah,
haven't
and he
seen
talks to
them.
like the little kids with the soccer ball.
Yeah, like and
I.
and that is the interaction to the people that are on that ship or
Hmm.
planet, whatever they're on there. But you don't see the masses. You don't
Hmm.
see like, hey, this actually is a problem. Like I was wondering like why at this point are they still looking for a planet? Like it's been 20 something years now. They've all gone their separate ways. They're working on different planets. They have jobs. Like they're not all in one centralized location, it seemed
Hmm.
like. Maybe I'm wrong, but like to me watching it, that's what it seemed like since we just got this. There's a human over here,
Yeah.
one over there, and they happen to work on the same ship, and that's it.
You'd think that if humanity had undergone such a terrible disaster as Earth being blown up, that we would be a little bit more unified, that
Well,
humans would know what other humans were doing, that they wouldn't be as scattered to the winds, that they would be more like, this is, for the time being, our Earth human settlement. Here we live and bond together.
yeah. Like I feel like that's what we would want to do, but it looked like they were getting in ships left and right, and just get
Yeah,
out of here as much as you
scattered to the
can.
winds.
Yeah, which made it seem like, hey, there was not. Let's meet on Mars.
Yeah,
Know,
like there
like there.
wasn't a plan for sure. But you figured somebody would have been like, okay, I've appointed myself. It's like the person who volunteers to put together the high school reunion. It's like, no, hi, I'm an Earth alumni, and I'm here to collect everybody else from Earth. Like, I know we didn't have a plan. Let's make one now. Can we all get together? Just talk,
Yeah,
reminisce about Earth stuff.
yeah, and so yeah, like I guess in terms of that, I don't feel like it almost seems like why are you even searching or looking for a
Hmm.
planet when it seems like people have moved on.
Yeah.
Um, so I thought that was strange. That was one of the things I was just like, huh, that seems weird to me. The next
Hmm.
thing that I thought was weird, which kind of piggybacks off of that, we haven't really talked about the Titan project itself and what
Hmm.
that was. When they find it, it's this big spaceship like thing that basically
Yes.
has a codex of all of like the DNA of every type. It's basically Noah's Ark, it
Yeah.
seems like. So they can repopulate the earth and they can have
Hmm.
rabbits again and they can have steak and that you know like they don't have to
These are our priorities. One, Earth. Two, rabbits. Three, steak.
but yeah, like they have all of that stuff,
Hmm.
and that's also a thing that kind of baffles me. Like to find another planet that has the same like chemical like atmospheric composition that all of that life can survive on
Hmm.
there is I feel like almost impossible
Yeah,
unless this thing is a terraformer as
it could be.
well. It could be, and that so what is that new planet? Because it is not one that they found. It is this thing that just kind of like got it. It looked like it was like the exploded Earth
I think it's
rewinded
something.
it, like back into itself.
I don't know. This is a narrative ingredient in the movie Star Trek II, The Wrath of Khan, and I could tell what was going on was not as good as Wrath of Khan, so like I'm not even gonna pay attention.
It's just this weird thing of like when they hit the button to activate Titan AE or
Hmm.
whatever this thing is, all of a sudden these like disparate pieces around I guess around Titan. I'm wondering if it's putting out a gravity field, and all of these things are getting sucked in to
Hmm.
form this like conglomerate planet, and that's how. But like all of a sudden, there's grass and there's oceans, and it's like how does this even happen? Like that.
I
I
don't know.
don't know.
I do remember being 10 years old and thinking it was an absolute riot that he's like, I think I'm going to name the new planet Bob.
Bob.
Kyle, what would you name a planet?
If I were to name a planet, uh, let's see. I don't know. I feel like a good naming convention is after like mythological characters and stuff like
Hmm.
that. So I feel like if you have to go with characters that are more like modern or art, like what are our mythological stuff, it would have to be superhero names.
I like that.
Like on planet Hal Jordan, you have
Oh, you're naming them after the civilian names. You're not.
I don't know. I mean, Green Lantern would be a weird name for a planet, or Batman. Planet Batman.
We're going to name them after our culture's most important mythical heroes. Welcome to Planet Shrek.
Yeah, exactly.
I think I
Welcome to
would.
Planet Donkey. It's Shrek and its moon, and it's constantly orbiting.
I've heard that if you go out to the moon, they've got restaurants there that make the best waffles.
Yeah,
I would
exactly.
name a planet after my high school astronomy teacher, who was a rad woman who loved space, and her name was Maria.
There you go, Planet Maria.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like so it has to be. I feel like something like that, or I mean, that's not me not being serious, but at the same time, like I like the idea of using some kind of like mythological naming convention.
Yeah.
Like here's Planet Clark, and here's Planet Bruce, and here's Planet Diana. you know,
Diana aren't bad planet names. I don't know about Bruce.
hey, it's a step up from Bob.
It is. I gotta give you that.
But like, yeah, I mean, there has to be something out there that I think would be a better fit. But I don't know, man. That's a tough one.
I give it to you for not like naming the planet after yourself. Like, welcome to New Springertown.
No, it'd be a lame name. No one wants to live in New Springertown. um,
Kyle, after watching this film, I'm wondering, what are your closing thoughts? Do you have anything left to say? And do you have anything to recommend to our audience if they liked this, or if they were intrigued by parts of it and they'd like to see
I feel
something else
like
like that?
so. I feel like at the start. I mean, generally speaking, I feel like I'm kind of down on the film. I don't think it's all that great, but
Mhm.
I think if you want a sci-fi film that has a lot of the trappings that a lot better sci-fi has, I think this could be a good introduction to younger kids of being like,
Yes.
hey, here's a sci-fi film that has a bunch of different alien species and
Hmm.
tropes, and it has the Battlestar Galactica plot line and all of this
Hmm.
stuff. So they might not be old enough for Star Wars or Star Trek or Battlestar Galactica itself. I mean, I guess Star Wars now they could do, especially since they have all the cartoons
Hmm.
and
I
comics and stuff
remember
like that.
watching
But
Star Trek as a very little kid.
like
My
I
earliest memory is putting a headband over my eyes saying, "Look, Dad, I'm the guy from Star Trek."
see, I see so I am not a Star
Mhm.
Trek fan. I've only ever seen the first of the more modern films, and I didn't like
Mhm.
it. The
Ah,
J.J.
mhm.
Abrams one, I thought it was bad. Um, and so that is literally the only Star Trek thing that I have ever
There's so
seen.
much more Trek out there.
And yeah, but it is also the thing, like one of those things that's on my list of like, I feel like I would really like this, but I also want to just deep dive into this stuff of
Yeah.
like, I'm gonna start with square one, episode one of like the original, and I know that's not the like not necessarily the best way to get
No.
into all of that stuff, but that's just like that's me. That's who I am. Of like if I'm gonna get into something, I'm gonna go head first all the
Like,
way.
you don't want to start with what might be the best introduction. You want to start with just the chronological first thing they ever made.
Yeah, so that
Oh, okay.
when that really good one comes around, I will have that emotional connection to it. Like, oh, I see why this is so good.
Oh,
You know,
I can understand that. Not jumping straight to Wrath of Khan. Yeah.
yeah, because then I'll be like, I don't understand who these characters are. I don't really care about them or anything like that. And
What's
it's
that thing
just,
he's doing with his hand?
yeah, I don't know. um, but yeah, like I feel like this would be a good introduction
I
to
think so.
some of that
Like,
stuff.
watching this movie again, I can see why I thought this was so cool at 10 years old.
Hmm.
Why there's little parts of this movie I really remembered like 2 decades later. Why I bought this DVD whenever I bought it, but also why I've not picked up this DVD in several years.
Yeah.
Like, it's got a lot of really great things in it. But yeah, I don't know if it really comes together into an entire whole package that's like, yes, what a movie.
Yeah. Yeah.
I
What would you recommend to people that liked this?
Treasure Planet.
That is a good one. Yeah.
Like last week I almost pitched Treasure Planet. I'm like, okay, animated spaceship movie, and I've
I
got
feel
like
like
both of
that
them.
film is highly underrated.
I love Treasure Planet.
It's a good
I've
one.
got a big movie poster of Treasure Planet in my living room.
Nice.
Yeah, because my brother's like, oh, I know you love Disney stuff. I want to get you a big movie poster for your favorite Disney movie. They don't have one for Hunchback of Notre Dame. Here's Treasure Planet.
I would still find that acceptable.
Yeah, I love it. It's a gorgeous poster. Real fun movie. That's another one I have not revisited in several years. And I think it's also due for a revisit, and I may find it more positively than I did Titan AE. Also,
I
another
hope so.
Disney film, as mentioned previously, Atlantis.
Yep. That's a good one
Just
too.
ragtag bunch of adventurers just having to come together
That one's
to
more like an
resurrect
Indiana
life.
Jones film than
Yeah.
a like a
Yeah,
sci-fi. It is sci-fi, but it feels more like an Indiana
mhm.
Jones film than like an outer space adventure.
Yeah,
Still good.
it's down in the depths of the earth. It ain't spacey at all. And Firefly, like watching this just reminded me,
I can
man,
see
nobody
that.
does it better than Firefly. If you want any group of people in space, that's the defining one.
I would also recommend the Star Wars cartoon, Star Wars: The Clone Wars, and Star Wars
Yeah,
Rebels.
Rebels was good.
I love those shows to death, and I think
Hmm.
those are some of the best Star Wars out there that you can
Yeah.
find. Um, it's phenomenal. The Clone Wars, you kind of have to get past that first season or so, and then it starts
Hmm.
really picking up. Um, but the first season is still good for
Hmm.
what it is, but it's kind of like problem of the week, and then
Yeah.
and then once it gets past that, then it's this big overarching story and all that stuff, and it's fantastic. But I would recommend that because yeah, it's out in space. There's all kinds of adventure. There's a bunch of different alien species. You do get the interaction between the crew of the ships and stuff like that. You know, there's Anakin and Ahsoka and Obi-Wan and
Mm-hmm.
R2D2 and all of that stuff. So good Star Wars stuff. Good kid and family friendly adventure type of stuff. I think I would recommend that.
Yeah.
I think that'd be a good pick. Melissa,
Yes.
it is my turn to do the pitches for this week. And I kind of gave you a hint.
You told me it is all robots.
It is all giant robots.
Giant, specifically. Mechs.
In honor of Neon Genesis Evangelion coming to Netflix for the first time, or just being available to stream for the first time in a long time, I got inspired and I was like, I'm gonna do some giant robot stuff because I like giant robots. So yeah, pitch number 1 is Neon Genesis Evangelion.
Okay.
It's, I believe, 24 episodes long. It is now on Netflix, with the caveat that it is a brand new sub and dub of the show. It is not the original. It's a brand new voice cast and stuff like that. And so I know a lot of the fans aren't liking that. That all of this stuff happened and they changed certain things and stuff like that. That being said, I haven't seen the show in a long time. I know it's up there in one of my favorites, but I know it's also I've only watched it once, and so I know I don't understand it completely and stuff like that. So I think it'd be fun to revisit. And since I don't really remember all that much from the original script, I don't know how much I'd be like, well, here's what they changed and why it's important that they should have done it. Just like, let's just watch it for what it is and see what is on there. So that's pitch number 1. Pitch number 2 is another favorite giant robot of mine, Mobile Suit Gundam.
Yep.
There are a series of 3 movies that condense the original series into these 3 films. The original series, I believe, was like 40-something episodes, but this is just 3 films that retell that whole story.
What are these called?
It's basically just Mobile Suit Gundam 1, 2, and 3.
When were these made?
They do have actual titles of them. Let me see if I can find them. Mobile Suit Gundam. So the original show premiered in 1979.
Oof.
Let's see, movie trilogy. Let's see if I can find that. Come on, Wikipedia, don't fail me now. There is the names of these compilation movies. Following the success of Mobile Suit Gundam TV series in 1981, Tomino reworked the footage into 3 separate compilation movies. The first 2 movies, Mobile Suit Gundam and Mobile Suit Gundam Soldiers of Sorrow, were released in 1981. The third film, Mobile Suit Gundam Encounters in Space, was released in 1982. So these are some old anime films, some old-ass anime films. But I really love Mobile Suit Gundam. I really love the original timeline. There are a lot of Gundam shows out there, and not all of them take place in the same timeline. Some, it's just, hey, there's just this one show. You can watch this whole show. But the original timeline is the most fleshed out. It has the most series in that one timeline, and I think it's the best one. So I wanted to introduce that to you somehow, because I know you haven't watched this, and I think these films might be a good way.
I know this is something very important to you. I know it's something important to the anime culture at large. I think I saw Endless Waltz once.
Probably. It was on Toonami when we were
Yeah.
younger. Gundam Wing and Gundam Wing Endless Waltz.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so that's pitch number 2, the movie trilogy of Mobile Suit Gundam.
Mm-hmm.
Pitch number 3 is some comics.
Uh-huh.
And it's American giant robots by the name of Transformers.
Oh, is this truly American?
I don't know. I feel like it is. It's
I
more
thought Transformers
American than
had
Mobile Suit
Japanese
Gundam.
origins. Am I wrong?
You could be right. I don't know. But I wanted to read Transformers: The Wreckers Saga. This, I was asking around on a Discord server that I am on if people had read some of the more recent Transformers comics, because I've heard they were really, really good. And I asked, like, where should I start if I know nothing? What about standalone stories? This is a standalone story. It's like, I think I would say like 2.5 volumes. It's like 2 volumes, and then there's like a one-shot standalone addendum, I think is maybe the best word for it. But it is basically the Transformers version of the Suicide Squad.
Oh.
Yeah, if you join the Wreckers, basically you're going to be going on a mission where you don't come back. So this probably isn't the characters that we know of, like Optimus and Megatron and stuff like that. You might hear references to stuff like that, but it is, it is a side story. It is something that that I feel like a lot of people could get into, of being this like, hey, it's like, the concept. It's these robots that can transform, but here's a brand new story that you don't really need to know anything, or at least much.
Okay, lay those deets on me again. What is the title of the series and how many volumes is it?
Transformers: The Wreckers Saga.
Okay.
The first, it's let me see here.
How many volumes you want to do?
Transformers: The Wreckers. It's all one complete.
Oh, okay.
Thing.
Oh, nice.
But it is made up of basically 2 volumes and this like extra thing. Let me see if I can Google it, because the first volume I know is on Comixology Unlimited. I don't think the second and third one are available on Comixology Unlimited. So I'm on the Transformers wiki thing, and it says published by IDW Publishing. It collects all of the previously published stories about the fan favorite team of bad bots, the Wreckers. First, in Last Stand of the Wreckers, blah 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 blah. They're sent to Garrus 9 to investigate a prison that fell to the Decepticons with no communication in or out since. 5 years after, The Sins of the Wreckers is volume 2. Blah 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 blah.
Transformers can sin.
Yeah, robots can sin. Deep.
Wow,
deep stuff.
This is a lot to think about.
Yeah, so it collects Transformers: The Last Stand of the Wreckers, Transformers: Sins of the Wreckers, and Transformers: Requiem of the Wreckers one shot. So it's 11 issues in total.
Requiem with a W, or is it spelled the way we know?
It's spelled the way we know.
Dang.
So we can at least get started reading it on Comixology Unlimited. The 5-issue series Transformers: Last Stand of the Wreckers is on Comixology Unlimited. However, we will have to get the rest of it elsewhere.
Okay.
So there you go. Pitch number 1 was Neon Genesis Evangelion. Pitch number 2 was Mobile Suit Gundam, the movies, the 1 through 3. And then pitch number 3 is Transformers: The Wreckers Saga.
I do have to go with Transformers.
Okay.
Evangelion seems too overwhelming to compress into an entire week. Like, I just break my brain. If I'm going to watch any Gundam, I want to revisit the Gundam I remember my friends liking when we were 10 years old.
Mhm.
I'm sorry, old Gundam. I just want to see those, the
Old
boy
Gundam is
band.
best.
The
Gundam.
boy band era of Gundam. Gundam Wing, that
Yes.
one. I am intrigued
That's
by this
also an old one, though.
Transformers story. Like, of course I know the concept. I think I saw the first Michael Bay movie once or twice. I am interested to really dive into a Transformers story, especially one where the Transformers are facing death.
Sure.
To have a robot face death be the entire premise of the series is very intriguing to me.
There you go. Sounds good to me. I'm interested in that one as well. That one seems neat because I haven't read any Transformers comics. I haven't seen any of the cartoons. I've seen a couple of the Michael Bay films, and oh boy, they are not good. But yeah, I've heard good things about the recent comics. Just this stuff shouldn't be as good as it is. Like
that's the stuff I want to cover. Is I've heard that thing is good. Really? How?
Yeah.
How is that true?
How is that even possible?
Or just like those Flintstone comics from a couple years ago where everybody was like, why is this Flintstone series so good?
Those were good. That was surprisingly like, oh, this is awesome.
Yeah.
Sweet. So that is what we will cover for next week. Transformers, the Wreckers Saga. You can get the first part of that on Comixology Unlimited if you like it. I'm sure you can get it elsewhere. Melissa.
Yes.
What are you up to? Where can they find you on the interwebs?
You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Wilkywit. That's WILKYWIT.
You go. And I am at Yo Kyle Springer on both Twitter and Instagram. My Instagram has kind of been neglected for months now, though. So, but if you guys want updates for this show or any of the other podcasts that we do, we are at the Whatnauts on Twitter. And yeah, we will be back next week with episode 64 of the Whatnauts review show. We will see you then. Adios.
Bye.
Whatever those things are.
She knows the word podcast, and she does that old person thing where she over enunciates every new word. Podcast, Facebook, Twitter.
Oh, podcast. Extra hard D and extra hard C on that one. Podcast. Podcast. Hello, Internet. Welcome to our podcast.
I'm sorry, you said extra hard D.
I know what I said. Thank you so much for checking out that episode of the Whatnauts review show. We hope you liked it. If you did, please go subscribe to our channel right up here. We have all sorts of other stuff besides the review show, and watch one of our other videos right down here. That would help us out a bunch. It might be another episode of the review show. It might not be. Who knows? Go hit the button. Go do the things.